Gamers of Reddit, what was the most horrifying experience you've ever endured in a video game? I just sunk about 80 hours into Sunless Sea, on my 4th captain, defeated bondage sharks, spiky balls of madness, and a giant spider, and survived. I was pretty sure I'd seen everything the game had to offer and it was just a matter of playing it safe until I completed my captain's ambition and retired. So I'm making my usual sapphire run and on a whim I sail through an area I hadn't been in before. Suddenly I notice that the music is different. I check the chat log, something forgotten is here. Then the screen starts shaking. The freaking ocean splits in half below my ship and there's a goddamn freaking eyeball staring up at me, watching me. I honest to god screamed in real life and slammed my laptop shut. Later it turned out the eyeball had a quest for me. Love me some Sunless Sea. So many panicked moments out in the undersea. Not me but one of my friends. He was playing a FPS horror game on his PC. If I recall correctly it was Aliens vs Predator or similar. With his newly bought 360 sound speaker setup. Dark room. Intent on the screen. Suddenly hears the sound of an alien behind him. He had kind of forgotten about the new speaker setup so it was genuinely horrifying in that moment. And then his kitten pounces onto his shoulder and digs her claws in. He said it was the closest he's ever come to actually crapping himself. Not just using quality headphones like a normal person. Seriously thought that sounds PTSD inducing. The terrifying butler from Tomb Raider on the PlayStation. The sound of that rattling china getting closer used to make my blood run cold. That's why you're supposed to lock his old butt up in the freezer. I had an in-game stalker in WoW. He would follow me around and send me very perverted messages. I ended up blocking him because the stuff he sent me was just creepy. He made another character and started harassing me again, telling me I needed to move up to New York with him and he would show me a good time because that was the New York way. I blocked him again and then made an alt called New York Way as a joke. When he saw I had an alt with that name, still not sure how he found out about that alt. He became unglued and sent me death threats along the lines of women should be respectful towards their man and you need to be taught a lesson and I will find you and you will die looking up at my face realizing your final mistake. It really freaked me out. I ended up switching mains to a male character and wouldn't talk on Vent anymore. I also switched servers as an added precaution. My sister had a problem with guys stalking her on WoW too so I played primarily males to avoid the same fate. Disturbing how widespread harassment of female players could be. Dead Space 2. The entire game was extremely unsettling and scary. I actually remember playing it the first time with my friend. It had the best use of jump scares I have ever witnessed in a video game. Cross my heart and hope to die. Stick a needle in my eye. On World of Warcraft in the Burning Crusade expansion, as my guild began our Keelthus fight, my guild leader and his girlfriend started having extremely noisy sex over voice chat. It sounded like two walruses were locked in the Mortal Kombat with all of the grunts and bellows going on. We were in the middle of an extremely difficult boss fight and nobody could spare the time to minimize out to deal with them. So we had to rough out one of the most horrifying experiences I've ever had in a video game. That actually sounds hilarious. Subnautica, Reapers, Stalkers, dang they're loud. The ambience, atmosphere and those dang cliffs into the abyss. I have never been more afraid of a game in my life. I still refuse to play it or read anything about it until I get an HTC Vive and experience it for the first time in VR. Ocarina of Time. Definitely mashing the A button over and over while the owl talks to you. Then when he asks if he should repeat himself, you accidentally hit A again. This hit home. When I was playing Red Dead Redemption and was on those stupid flower collecting missions and had to go into tall trees, I hear the bears. I know they're there somewhere. Finally, I see him and manage to gun him down before he kills me, which in turn causes the game to spawn 20 more bears. I don't fear gun-wielding NPCs, the cannibals or even the cougars, but I fear those bears. The cougars always jump scared me. Playing the demo of PT. All the jump scares, that baby, the stereo, the loops and that freaking demon woman, just the whole game in general. Look, behind you. I've always been really careful not to let out my real name or address and have gone so far as using other people's address in bigger cities. I live in a small one, and old addresses from when I used to live somewhere larger. It'd been online already nearly 6 years. Started playing Diablo 2 with my parents and later MSN and IMVU by myself. When I was 14 we had already moved to my small town and my cousin had an interest online too. She was a year younger than me. She gave too much out online I guess. And we're in a town with only one high school and she got identified by her picture and followed. She was kidnapped and held for 2 days before the cops found her in one of our only 2 motels, being held by a man and a woman, naked and tied to a chair in the shower, drugged out of her mind. We never got the full story and my cousin pulled away from most of her friendships after that. She was a different person. She's okay and a mom now, but I can only imagine the nightmare she went through. Later, when I was like 16 or 17, it joined a Skype for gamer friends and I was using my picture, a game tag and not my name or address, but this psycho singled me out and harassed and threatened me and told me, approximately, where I lived, and all this scary stuff. I straight up had Skype support erase me and I've been too afraid to talk to a lot of people since. I noped out of Bioshock when I got to the part where you fight the surgeon in the dark, water-filled room. I also noped out of Amnesia when I got to the part on the water. Water is scary. Alien Isolation, when you enter the rooms where the aliens have been laying eggs and facehuggers crawl over the whole place. It's the moment you check your motion tracker for the first time and see dots everywhere. Spoilers for Outlast. Fairly early in the game you come across a pair of huge scary looking identical twins who are completely naked with dongs that could be used as weapons. Fortunately they're on the other side of some bars, but as they watch you walking by they casually comment to one another on all of the horrifying things they'd like to do to you. Don't remember specifics. Pretty sure rape and dismemberment are involved. Then later in the game you're walking down a hallway when a shape appears in front of you. It's one of those psychotic naked murder-rapers with a butcher knife. Oh crap. Turn around and run. It's the other one. What do I do? What do I do? Turns out what I did was died. I handled the twins just fine, and handled all the chase scenes with King Kong, but the deal breaker was with the doctor. Most anxiety-inducing experience for me in the whole game. When I got a PS2 I borrowed Final Fantasy VII from a friend, thrilled to finally be able to play through it. It was a PS1 game but the PS2 was backwards compatible. What I hadn't realized when I started playing was that I would need a PS1 memory card to be able to save my game. So that night I left my PS2 running. In fact, I left it running all week, because I lived right out in the wilderness and there was not a quick or easy way to come by a memory card. I had just completed the first disc when there was a power cut. FEAR was pretty scary. I'll never forget that one part where you climb up the ladder to get in the air duct and the girl is right in your face waiting for you. Never been so scared by a game in my life. Frick everything and run. When I was a kid I played Bioshock with my dad's surround sound headphones. I was just a kid so I didn't really wanna play it too much since it was kind of scary, and the headphones didn't help so I kept them off most of the time. I remember I was walking through a corridor with tons of splicer corpses, and since they were dead I did not think of taking the headphones off. I was so freaked out and scared that my instant reaction was to take my shoe off and throw it at the TV. TLDR. Television type Pokemon are weak to shoes. Picture it. There I was, home alone, playing Alien Isolation with headphones. I know any minute Geiger's nightmare is going to be on me. I can hear him in the vents above me. Then, suddenly, it happened. Alexa, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. Thanks for the heart attack, Amazon. Also, who the heck were you talking to? Cause it sure wasn't me. Cut to the alien, just tapping away at a keyboard. How do I find the dang human walkthrough FAQ video PLS? Silent Hill. Creepy kids cornering me against a fence and attacking me? Nope. Having to go to a creepy school knowing there are creepy kids around? Nope. Having a disconnected phone ring in an empty classroom with your daughter speaking on the other end? Nopest. Didn't help that I was playing this the weekend it came out. At midnight. During a storm. I have really bad trypophobia. Don't Google it unless you want. To the point that it makes me physically ill. I was doing one of the later dungeons in Neverwinter Online. When I get to a point in the dungeon that is just wall-to-wall hives and enemies start pouring down from the ceiling and walls. The whole thing just made me so sick that I didn't even log out of the dungeon, I just went and laid down. I uninstalled shortly after and haven't been back in 5 years. My friend had someone trick her into giving them her name on an online game. She thought nothing of it until 30 minutes later an unpaid for pizza from Domino's is delivered to her house. Turns out the person looked her up on Google and found her address. TF. Silent Hill 3. Walking down this dark hallway. Ominous background noises when you see a nurse down the wall with a knife in hand. I prepare myself, equipping my weapon of choice to deal with this monster. I creep slowly up, prepared my bang. There was another fricking nurse that popped behind me and shot me in the back with a fricking handgun. Nearly crap myself. I promptly took my shotgun out and blasted both of them. Ain't dealing with that crap. Hospital storeroom mirror. Not even once. I haven't played in a long time, but I remember being actually very scared by whichever Silent Hill game had that hotel room where you look through peepholes. When I was first dating my husband, he and his roommate in college played the original Diablo all the time. I enjoyed vicariously watching them play and understood the mechanics of the game. One of the aspects I learned was that a room with a blue glow has a mana cauldron in it. I eventually decided to try the game myself, seeing the enjoyment the boys got out of playing it, and I leveled a character. One day, I was playing alone downstairs in a quiet room and had gotten a few levels into the game. I eventually got to a dungeon where I saw a room with a red glow to it. I thought to myself, if the rooms with the mana cauldrons glow blue, this room must have a health cauldron. I opened the door and am greeted with a loud fresh meat, and this huge ogre character with an enormous cleaver rushes me and kills me in 2 hits. You may know the boss as the Butcher. Needless to say, I was terrified and didn't play the game again for a long time. Resident Evil 2. There's a hallway with boarded up windows that you walk through a few times. Nothing happens. Then, later you're walking through, expecting nothing to happen because nothing has ever happened, and then hands smash through the boards and grab at you. It scared me right out of my chair. Playing Persona. I'm replaying 3 right now, and trying to get all the social links in one playthrough only to realize halfway that you messed something up. At that point you might as well restart. That's what New Game Plus is for. I was about 25 playing Mass Effect 3 cook mode with a friend. Maybe we did some shrooms before. Maybe. Don't know how, but when this friend is near, electronics just go crazy. Bug or lag. Every time. In this game mode, there is some type of witch boss that spawn and she attacks screams at you. Kinda like the witch from Left 4 Dead without the crying phase. She spawn on my friend's screen and she just go totally insane. She morphs so her face fill almost all the screen and she starts to scream so loud and distorted and she just doesn't stop. The sound was horrifying. We start to bad trip, screaming and fighting to get to the power button. Pure chaos for at least 2 minutes. The banshees. Man. Frick those things. 1. The talking fetus in Silent Hill. PT. No problem with fetuses, or talking, separately, put together with partially formed eye contact, though, I wanted to throw up throughout the narration. 2. Eternal darkness for the GameCube, wandering into the Aztec tomb, and transitioning to a room full of zombies, and low sanity so the game makes your controller disconnect for you. Kills you, then makes like it's deleting the game. Frick you, ED. Eternal Darkness is what came to my mind, specifically Paul Luther's chapter. All the crap he goes through only to meet such an abrupt end. I had to take a break after that. Also, I think my favorite sanity effect was walking into a room full of zombies and then it says the controller is disconnected but the game doesn't pause. That got me pretty good. As someone who's really afraid of heights, the second half of Portal 2. Also Silent Hill 3. I remember there were moments I had to take a break because I was afraid I would have a heart attack, or crap my pants. Bloodborne, making me give up on the first game of my life because I literally wasn't good enough to beat it. Happily crushed it after I got Gud. Great White Buffalo. Left for dead the first time I heard the witch crying. I went looking for this poor crying child. I followed the sound, turned a corner and saw her sitting there all sad. Then she leapt, literally screamed and threw controller. Not so much horrifying, but the final few hours in Majora's Mask, the overall look of the environment with the red sky, occasional tremors, and giant creepy as heck moon staring at you, and all the NPCs' reactions to it. Some simply accepting that they're going to die. That one guy who had appeared all tough and macho the previous 2 days shaking in the corner of his house because he didn't want to die. Creamier giving Romani the alcoholic drink they serve so she's numb when the moon crashes. Act. Are super unnerving. Arc. Survival Evolved. I was playing in single player and built a wall defending my base on the only entrance to a small plateau. It was perfectly safe from any dinos that spawned in the area. I used the spot to build a warehouse, a dodo farm, a workshop, and my personal home. I left for a few in-game days to map the island, and on my return, found the place in tatters. Apparently, a carnivore spawned in a corner of the plateau that didn't have any buildings near it. I lost the farm, my recently tamed pack of raptors, a carbo, and all my feelings of pride and accomplishment. I had a friend in high school who insisted I play FEAR, but he said the best way to experience it was to play in his basement room that had no windows and could go completely dark. I swear I see that girl pop up in the dark to this day. Heavy Rain's Lizard Trial. Spoilers below. I was horrified the first time cutting my finger off with a kitchen knife, after drinking all the booze in the cabinet there mind you. But one of the trophies on the way to getting platinum involves doing all the versions of that scene. My fiance thought that was hilarious as he had played the game before. The scissors one was the worst by far. I was half looking but that first cut and realizing your finger hasn't fallen off yet and the game was waiting for me to cut it again was the only time a game's gore has ever made me almost throw up. Spoiler. PS1 and 2 era. I'm in a crucial moment of a game boss battle and I realized I did not put my memory card to save and could not find it or already passed the save point and have entered the battle scene. Happened to me for Silent Hill 2. Playing the forest with husband. We opened the gate to leave our base and since we heard no cannibals or mutants we weren't expecting anything on the other side. Vagina mutant was standing on the other side of the gate. When it opened she glitched to being on top and falling right in my face. Before then I have never had a scare in my life that caused me to scream. It happened on stream and viewers clipped it. I forgot which Far Cry but I hated going in the water when all of a sudden a dang alligator crocodile pulls you under. Scared the living crap out of me every time. Stalker. Sock. That first trip into a tunnel complex and encountering a controller in that final corridor. I actually properly panicked. My heart was hammering when I got out of there. Awesome game though, and one of the very few games I've played through start to finish and then gone back and gone through all the alternate endings. The first time I met a bloodsucker I dang near crapped my pants. The first time I ran into a burner anomaly was fun too. Well, just last night I came home from a long day at work to find my wife and 6-year-old son sitting on my $3,000 gaming PC playing Heroes of Might and Magic 3. I really wanted to play Sniper Elite 4. It wasn't all bad though. I just binge watched Star Trek Deep Space Nine because they were on it all goddamn night with an hour and a half break for homework. Yeah, but Hammond M3 is awesome. ETA. Apparently the HD remake is on sale on Steam today for $5.03. I totally just bought it. When I was like 10, missing No from Pokemon Red Blue actually scared the crap out of me. Partly because I imagined this horribly disfigured amalgam of Pokemon parts from an Oak experiment gone wrong. And on a deeper level, the fact that catching missing No could, over time, corrupt the game. In my mind, it was like he was undoing the world, was too young to have known about Cthulhu and such, but that's the level of unnaturalness I felt. It's like how in Pokemon Diamond as a kid back in 2007, my friends told me that the ghost girl in the haunted mansion could kill you and your save would be deleted, and she did that to all trainers, hence the ghost Pokemon being there. It made sense to my 7-year-old self, and I avoided that place like the plague. I've watched so many playthroughs of horror games, but I've never squeaked in fear the way I do when I run into an unexpected feral ghoul in Fallout 4. The creepy fricked up grandma with gnarly teeth in a moo thing that lives in the Shadow Temple in Ocarina of Time. First time I came across a dead hand in Ocarina of Time, I almost fell out of my chair, ended up turning the game off and not playing again until the 3DS remake. There's one scene from The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask that really sticks out to me when I think of truly horrific things I've witnessed in a video game. Doubly so considering just how I came across it. Basically, imagine you're in the woodful region of southern Tamina. You've played through the game plenty of times before, so you know what you're doing, but this time you only managed to learn the Sonata of Awakening on the third day, giving you just enough time to get the hero's bow from Woodfall Temple. You can't actually finish the whole dungeon before the world ends, so in the final 6 hours before the moon crashes, you decide to pay a visit to Deku Palace, just to see if there's anything there to see. You wander into the throne room to see the monkey as he's about to get punished. Curious, you decide to approach him as he hangs by his feet above a pot of boiling water. When you interact with him, he struggles and calls out for them to stop, and then you watch as the monkey is slowly lowered into the vat, and as he descends into the water, the rope from which he's suspended stops moving, and the limp, lifeless body of the monkey is slowly raised from the pot a few seconds later, his face vacant and emotionless. You interact with him again immediately thereafter. Silence. That is what I experienced the first time I ever saw the monkey getting dunked into the boiling water. I couldn't believe it. It just didn't seem real. Did I seriously just witness an innocent character getting executed right before my eyes in a Nintendo game? Turns out, the monkey didn't actually die. After about a minute of hanging motionlessly, he starts struggling again, just as he had before. But the moment I first saw him hanging there, with every indication that he was dead, is a moment that will stay with me for a very long time. The torture mission in GTA V. Oddly, I'm perfectly fine with murdering the target with my sniper rifle, not to mention all the other innocent victims I've run down in the course of playing that game, but I really can't handle torturing that one guy. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.